All righty. Welcome everyone to the Doing It Digital ELA in the virtual world. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up or all right, good. Or you can type yes in the chat box. All right, so my name is Kimberly Lucas and I am your 6-8 ELA specialist for the district. Joining me, we also have
I'm Melissa Lane. I'm
Melissa
your
Lane,
912
who is the 912 ELA specialist for the district. Now, I will say that this session may feel a little rushed because we want to get all of the virtual activities to you that we can. Some we may skip, some we may just explain, but we will share the PowerPoint and the notes with you as after we finish this presentation. Okay.
So can you all hear me? Everybody hear me? Yes, okay. So some objectives and reminders that we want to go over with you guys. First of all,
take a minute and go over the objectives for today, which is to provide ideas of how to engage your students virtually and to provide strategies that you can use within 612. Now, we will provide variations of these particular activities, but feel free to take what you see today and put your own spin or twist on it. This isn't the only way. These are some ways, okay? All right. When we move into expectations, we want you guys to fully participate, keep it professional, which I know you guys will, and give us what you expect from your students. So if you want engagement from your students, we're going to ask that you actively engage with us, okay? And then lastly, we're going to look at reminders for today. Remember, the objectives for today are going to be, can we make sure that we establish some vocabulary strategies that are good for our students, as well as grammar strategies that we can incorporate in our classroom. And then after this, we want to complete the evaluation for the session. That is how you are going to get your CEU for today, okay? All righty. So we're going to take a quick minute. Miss Lane, if you would, could you say something? I think we're having some technical difficulties.
Can you hear me?
With hearing you.
Can you hear me, Kim? It says I'm minus.
Miss Lane?
Yes, I'm here. Okay, so I think it's just Miss Lucas that can't hear me.
Miss Russell, you can hear Miss Lane?
Yep.
All right, people if you have your video on, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear Miss Lane speaking? Okay. All right, let's move on.
Okay.
All right. Okay, perfect. All right, good. All right, so let's move into vocabulary strategies for your students. How can you engage your students in vocabulary? I know you guys are familiar with Heads Up. The Heads Up activity, that is where it is a game you can buy on your iPad. You hold the card up to your forehead. You see this? And then the person on the other end acts out the particular word that you are using, or that you are acting out. However, it makes it, we're going to have to do a little variation or a twist on this, because when you hold it up to the camera, of course, the students can, or the person guessing can see the word, right? So a way to put a twist on that is to use your chat bar with your students. So all I am doing is I am making sure that I have all of my vocabulary that is relevant to my lesson, okay? And so this would be a great review game that you could do with your students. Prior to this, in your preparation, you want to make sure that you pull your vocabulary, you put them on note cards, or you have some way to gauge whether the students got the word correct or they did not, because then you're going to go back in and review, Okay, so what that looks like is I am going to get Miss Lane to act out a particular word. Okay, Miss Jordan, is Miss Jordan online? Okay. If Miss Jordan,
I don't see her.
okay, so I need a brave volunteer who would not mind guessing the word that Miss Lane acts out. All right, Miss Dindy, is that how you say it? Perfect. You're going to have to unmute your mic so we can hear you. I am going to message Miss Lane a word privately. She's going to act it out and you are going to guess what it is, okay? Once Miss Lane guesses what it is, then she has to define that word. So that is what the review will look like for your students, all right? Miss Lane, your word.
Okay. Are you ready, Miss Dindy? Okay.
Unmute yourself, Miss Dindy.
Is that better?
Yes, okay.
Okay. Do you have any guesses?
I'm not seeing the word.
No, I'm acting it out.
I don't
guessed
see. I don't see you.
No, you are guessing what she's acting out.
Okay, but
So
I can't see her.
you can't see her?
Uh-uh.
Okay, so she's on camera. If you look up in the top right-hand corner,
Mm-hmm.
you should see a little box where you can see the videos.
All right, there we go.
You see it? Now can you see her?
I see you. Let's see. Well, when I pull up shared video, I can see your face.
Can you see any of the other participants?
The only thing I can see now is the screenshot of the heads up placard.
She's not showing her participants. That's what it is.
Okay.
Miss Jordan just messaged me and said that she can see us now.
Miss
Okay.
Jordan can.
Mm-hmm.
I can see you now too.
Oh, okay, good. All right, so here's the word. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
YouTube.
Mm-mm. Anybody have a guess?
Binoculars.
Is it point of view?
Yes, point of view.
Point of view. Oh, yay!
Right.
All right. You
That
have
was
to
good,
define.
Michael.
Oh, okay.
And so now, because he guessed it correctly, I'm going to define the word. So I would say, and if Kim's my teacher, she's going to put that in a pile of, yes, they got it. Okay.
Mhm.
So I would say point of view is the author, how the author tells the story. Okay. And then we would go on from there.
Okay.
All right, so the way this works, guys, is you want to be sure that you separate your students into teams. So you could easily have team 1 and team 2. For the purpose of today, because there is such a time constraint, we're only showing like 1 or 2 examples and then we're moving on. But I would let team 2, if she couldn't get that, I would easily say pass, right? And I would message her another word that she begins acting out. I have a timer, which means in 1 minute that team's time is up. So now team 2 has an opportunity to go. I would also do it on the point system. So if they guess the vocabulary word correctly, then they would get 1 point, right? If they defined it, then they would get 2 points. So that's just a great way to kind of do a quick review with your students. I'm going to give her one more word just to see. Now we are in ELA, all right? So here's your word.
Okay. Who's guessing?
We'll let anybody guess.
Okay.
I didn't see the word.
2 words.
Air bunnies.
Direct quote.
Yes, direct quote. Somebody define it for me, please.
Text evidence.
All right. So a direct quote is something that we pull straight from the text, a specific point of the text that we are pulling straight from the text, and we make sure that we set the quote off with quotation marks.
Okay, good. All right, so just so you guys see, that's just a quick way to kind of engage your students, do vocabulary, and review, okay? We will, when we send this PowerPoint out, you'll see preparation in the notes. It'll tell you everything you need to prepare, but it'll also show you different ways to facilitate and different variations in order to do it. Okay, so our next activity, we're gonna move on.
So the next activity that we have here is the vocabulary scavenger hunt. So when we're looking at this vocabulary scavenger hunt, first of all, this is another way to engage your students when they are on your Zoom. You could also do this in your classroom face-to-face, but this is more about making sure that you have that engagement while they're working from home. So in preparing, the teacher's going to create a list of words. It may be, I know our middle school works a lot with prefixes and suffixes and roots, so it may be part of that. It may be some words from the text, whatever your vocabulary or academic vocabulary is for that week. Then you, teacher, beforehand should gather appropriate items from your surroundings to represent those words. So you want to make sure that you have a good model before you do this activity in your class time, okay? And then make sure that you establish your rules for the game before they get started. So a couple of things we're going to do. We are going to we're going to do an example in just a second so that you'll have a chance to do that. But as you assign the words to the students, you may want to have your camera on, you may not, just depending on how you want to give. Yeah, I'm getting some messages that people can hear background noise. If you could, please mute at make sure that your camera's muted. We're getting some echo and background noise. Okay, thank you so much. All right, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Okay, so as you're moving on, setting up these rules, have the students turn off their cameras until they get their items or go grab their items. And then make sure that you tell the students school appropriate items only. So make sure that they avoid picking up items that would get them in trouble. Sometimes we have to give them those little reminders. Once you found your example, you can type in the chat what you found and its connection to the vocabulary word. So why they chose that word, and they can start by doing that in the chat. Now you as the teacher should act like you are participating in the scavenger hunt. So even though you've already gotten your models and you know you've got some good examples, you know, place them away from your screen or kind of hide them from yourself so it looks like you're really being an active participant in the scavenger hunt itself. Okay. So we're going to do a very quick little example of this just for some fun. So I'm going to give you each a minute, or give you all a minute, and I want you to find something that you feel can represent the vocabulary word, aka time period of 2020. Find something in your surroundings to represent 2020. I'm going to give you a minute. When you've got something, go ahead and stick it in the chat bar. Tell us what you got.
Hand sanitizer.
All right.
Masks.
Okay, we've got lots of masks. Now, some of you went ahead and you showed me your item, a Chromebook. Yes. I'm going to cut on my video for just a second if I can, because I want to show you my item. So here's my item. It looks like a nice box with a really nice computer in it. Like 2020, we had such high hopes for this year. Such a great one. But then when you open it up, there's nothing in it but a charger. There's nothing there for us to use. It is just a complete waste of a box. And that's how a lot of us are feeling about this year so far. So having those conversations with your students about their vocabulary words could be really helpful for them to make some connections to the world around them. And again, as Kim said, we've got variations on these in the notes when you get the copy of the PowerPoint, but you could use this for a character symbol or different symbols in whatever you're reading. You could definitely make this work for many different areas in ELA.
All right, so now we're moving into the idea of doing a word sort with your students, and all of us are very familiar, hopefully, with the word sort. In order to prepare for this activity, the teacher will basically create a list of words from a text that they are using or their academic vocabulary. So the teacher is going to create a participant PowerPoint, and I'm going to show you what that looks like in just a minute. And the students are going to work on a PowerPoint that you post in the chat that you, as a teacher, are able to kind of monitor and give feedback on, okay? You're gonna copy your participant link and you're gonna drop it into your chat box. So you're just gonna kind of watch how we go through this process, and you will do the same thing with your students, okay? You're going to assign breakout rooms for your student groups before beginning your lesson. So the reason why we suggest doing before and not during, you guys are all professionals, it's going to be very easy to set the breakout rooms and toss you in there and know that you guys are going to behave. You all know that there are certain students that you do not want the computer to randomly put together because you have no idea what you're going to get back on that project, okay? So it's going to be very important to be proactive and make sure that you pre-select your breakout groups. Who do you want with who? Okay, and then once you do that, you're going to put the students into their breakout groups. So in just a minute, we are going to drop, I'm going to drop a participant link into the chat box. Do me a favor and click on that participant link for me in the chat box. If it opens for you, I want you to type "got it" in the chat box, okay? If it opens for you, got it, got it, got it, got it, got it. Okay, so this is a way where you can do dual work with your students. So once you open that PowerPoint, you can see that on slide 2, it says group 1. So when we do great breakout groups, if you are assigned to group 1, then you are going to be working on slide 2. If you are in group 2, you are going to be working on slide 3. So you just make sure that you look in the top left-hand corner of which group you will be working on, okay? So your breakout room number will be equivalent to your group number. When you get into groups, there are words that we have pulled from, I think, A Telltale Heart, if I remember correctly. And so in your group, I want you to have a conversation about what those words mean and how would you group them? How would you sort them? So I want you to put like words alike. So you will move your boxes around, and then your orange boxes around, you'll move them and separate them so that they're in some type of category that you guys define. And then I want you to give it a heading. So where it says heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, you are going to change that to give it a specific heading so it makes sense. Give it a title. What are those groups of words called? Okay, are there any questions about what I'm going to ask you to do before I put you in breakout? If so, unmute yourself so I can clarify. If you got it, give me a thumbs up. I have not assigned groups. You are getting ready to be put into breakout rooms. Okay, I see thumbs up. All right. So in just a minute, you're going to be sent to a breakout room. Depending on your room number, that's the slide you are going to be working on. All right. And give me a minute. All right, everybody should be making their way back into the session. I know I did not give you guys a lot of time, right? But I told you we have a lot of activities that we want to show you. We just want you to get the idea of what you could do with your students, okay? All right, so really quickly, can I have one group representative unmute yourself and tell me how did your conversation go and what were your 3 headings? How did you decide to group your words?
I was in group 2, and it took us a little while to decide how we wanted to group them, but we eventually decided on connotation, negative, neutral, and positive. And because it took us a little while to figure out and kind of get our groove, we didn't get to finish, but that was the route we were taking.
Perfect. Okay. And so you guys keep in mind that there is no right answer in that scenario. You are really engaging the students in higher order thinking, having them have conversations around their vocabulary words and how they can group them. This can be a preview activity or a review activity. You can see what the students know or what the students have learned in that. Okay. All right. Moving on.
Okay, so the next one that we have for vocabulary or just concept words is a Frayer model, an oldie but goodie. We know that most of us have used Frayer models, but what we did for you guys is we gave you, whoops, sorry, I was going to try to show you. We gave you digital Frayer models. So at the end of this PowerPoint, there is a model that you can take where we created different digital Frayer models for you. And again, this would be something that you could do through that participant or student PowerPoint. And you could go ahead and take the Frayer models that we give you and assign them on a student PowerPoint and assign different students different slides. And then all of your students would have all the Frayer models when they're done. That's one way you can do it. And we've given you some other variations on the notes once you get there, but you'll have access to all of those as well. Okay.
Yes, and I put the link in the chat so that they can
Thank you.
access it. Yep.
Yeah, and that'll force you to make a copy. So then you'll have your own copy right from the start, and you can modify those in whatever way you need to, depending on whether you're looking at vocabulary or academic language or whatever the case. Okay.
Yes, and that's also a great way to divide the words up. So you're not giving 10 vocabulary words to the students, but you have them paired up and then they're working on a word and then they can present. So that's another way to kind of engage students as well. Okay.
All right.
Moving on into grammar strategies. Okay. Okay, so you guys can access it in the link. It is in the at the end of this PowerPoint. So when we send the PowerPoint out, we'll make sure you have permissions, but yes, thank you. Some people said they couldn't access the document. All right. So grammar strategies. What are some ways to engage our students virtually? All right. So here is another activity. This is a Connect 4 activity. And you can determine basically if you're going to be using a pre-made template, like this is one that we found online, or you can create your own Connect 4 activity. Then you need to determine if you're going to use it for review or in revising writing. So if your students are, if you've taught a writing unit and you want your students to go back and fix certain things or identify certain things in their own writing, it is a great way to have them revise, but it is also a great way to have them create. So today we're going to look at creating and what that looks like. So what is going to happen is I'm going to send you guys back to your breakout rooms. And this might take typically about 15 minutes to do, but we know you're superheroes and you're going to do it in 5. Okay. And so when you get into your breakout groups, you'll see these little yellow boxes on your participant slide. You want to move those yellow boxes onto your game board. So as a team, you decide which 4 are we going to connect. So you move the yellow boxes so they connect. Then you are going to create a very short story like 4 or 5 sentences that uses those types of sentences. Okay. If everybody's got the instructions, got it for me so I know we can move on. Got it. I see 1, 2. All right, let's rock and roll. So you're going to go back to your breakout rooms. You're going to the second breakout section, which is the Connect 4. Remember to look for your group number and make sure you're working on the right slide. And you're leaving. You should be getting an invitation now. All right. So, okay, guys, really quickly, if you would unmute yourself and tell me what was difficult about the Connect 4 or how you could see yourself using this in your classroom.
Well, where it says doctor, but I can take it by Creekstone in the morning if that would be.
What was difficult for me was choosing 4 out of all those choices.
Okay, you're right. This is Miss Marks, my overachiever. Okay, good. But hopefully it was understandable. Again, hopefully you'll be able to you will be able to give your students more time to go through the directions, to show the example, but it's very easy to set up your boxes and have the students move and navigate them. Okay, do I have one group that will share your story?
Go for it, Kim. Russell.
You gotta call me out like that, Marks?
Yes, I am.
All right, our story was, there once were 5 teachers on an expedition to online learning. They loved an adventure. The kind Kim Lucas and the marvelous Melissa Lane were the captains in charge of the vessel. Nevertheless, the vessel was heading quickly toward the sandbar.
Great job.
I love that, y'all.
And that's as far as we got.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see this is a very creative way. You can put anything in your Connect 4 box that you taught that could be review for your students to get them engaged in the learning. Thank you to what group number was that for sharing?
That was group number 1.
Thank you, group number 1. That's why you're number 1. Okay.
That's right.
All right. All right, moving on.
Okay, so the next idea that we have here is an I Spy with My Little Eye discussion board. So basically what you would do here is you could choose something like this, which is just an everyday edit, or you could choose to use something out of the text that you're using and put some grammar errors in there, something like your daily language activity. So you could put this here, and what your students would do is as they go through, they're in their chat bar and they would have to say, I spy with my little eye, and name one of the errors that they see there. Okay, so right now, just take a second, read over this little paragraph and see what you spy. And if you see a grammar error in the chat bar, just take a second and say, I spy with my little eye. And maybe it's a comma splice, or maybe it's a word spelled wrong, or whatever the case. So just right now in the chat bar, what do you spy?
Good.
Okay, we got a compound word, we got a punctuation error, we got a run-on, spelling error. Okay, good, good. So we actually, we started with the example of I spy with my little eye a misspelled word. So if you set this up on Canvas and you make sure to change your settings to user must post before seeing replies, and then allow threaded replies, the students would have to put what they spy first. Once they do that, you could then instruct students reply to 2 of the spying, or 2 spies, or however you want to word it, and identify what it is. So reply to this original post would be, you're right, 8th should be 8. Okay, it's a misspelled word. And so you could have the students go back and forth. If you were really brave, you could even have the students look at some of their own writing, as long as you keep it anonymous. Okay. Miss Lucas?
Okay, moving into, I was talking and I was on mute. I was just going to town. Okay, so, so in this, it will be yes, no, maybe so. And so for this activity, you could have the students engage using the participant tool. So you guys, if you're not familiar with where they are, if you would, if you click on participants, you should be able to see a yes spot, a little check yes, a no, and then if you click more, you should be able to see the other options that you have. Okay. All right. So Miss Lang, where do
Sorry.
I go?
Sorry.
So do me a favor and make sure. All right, good. That you can see your yes, no, and maybe so. So this is a great way to engage your students with sentences that they may or may not argue over. So just pretend that I just taught you guys misplaced modifiers and dangling modifiers, and we are going to do a review. And so I want you to tell me if this sentence is punctuated correctly. Okay, so sentence number 1, participants, I want you to respond. Almost 2 feet tall, he hurled himself over the coffee table. So let me see your responses with your participant, not in the chat, but with your participant. Yes, no, and maybe. Okay. Irate. Okay, so I wish you could see what I could see on my end. As a teacher, it tallies how many yeses and how many nos I have. So I have 24 participants, but I only have 4 people that have said yes and only 3 that have said no. So that's a good way to kind of gauge your participation. Oh, no, my number's going up. I have 5 that have said yes and 4 that say no. All right, so as a teacher, I would say, why is this correct or not? The answer is, click for me, no. Can someone tell me why this sentence is not correct?
The introductory clause has nothing to do with the rest of the sentence.
Okay, almost 2 feet tall, he hurled himself over. Good, all right. Somebody else can add to that?
Maybe the table is 2 feet tall, not the person.
Yes, ma'am. All right, so when we're looking at this sentence, we want to make sure that almost 2 feet tall, whatever follows that is what you're describing. So you're telling me that he is 2 feet tall. So this sentence needs to be reworded so that it's punctuated correctly, okay? All right, how about this one? A woman without her man is nothing. Is this sentence punctuated correctly? Yes or no? Change your answers. Let me see. Oh, I see a hold up.
I want to object to the sentence.
Okay. Okay, so if you want to object to the sentence, put that hold up, maybe so. All right. All right, so for the sake of time, my tally says 9 says yes, 3 say no, and then a few people are like, wait a minute, no. Okay. All right, so we're going to say maybe so. Why do you say maybe so? Who wants to take that?
Well, better yet, who says yes? And why? A bunch of people said yes. They're scared to talk about it now.
10 people that said yes. Y'all come on.
The commas take, because a woman is nothing is a sentence, but the commas offset the without her man. And you could actually leave that out of the sentence and it would still be a sentence. So you need both those commas.
Okay. All right. Somebody say no. Tell me why you say no. Y'all are mighty quiet.
Why
Well,
did
couldn't you write it either way?
Come on, Cannon. What are you gonna say?
No, I'm just asking, couldn't you write it either way and it still be right? It depends on what you got around it, and it's got to be in context, right? Because it could be like you trying to make a point. That's what I feel, but I don't know. I'm not the best at grammar. I'm going to tell you that right now, but I can teach you how to comprehend. That I can do.
Okay. All right. Good.
I love him. Who is that? I love him.
I'll put my face up here. Hello, how you doing? All right.
Okay, so we don't have much time left on this one, but I thought some of the ladies would argue with this because this is saying that a woman who doesn't have her man is nothing. So the way this is punctuated, this sentence, as a woman, I'm saying no, it is not right. Absolutely.
Right, it's offensive.
Yes. Now I could use this as an opportunity to teach my students about how if I change the punctuation and where the commas are, a woman without her man, comma, is nothing. A woman, comma, without her man is nothing. Okay, so we can word this sentence in a variety of ways. Either the man without the woman is nothing, or the woman without the man is nothing. It all depends on how we punctuate it. Okay, so this is just a great. Go ahead.
But a sentence can be incredibly offensive while still being grammatically correct.
It is
True.
absolutely.
Yes.
It is absolutely. So that is why we have that maybe so there, because yes, it is punctuated correctly, but I do not agree with it. Okay, this is just another fun way to engage your students. Okay, we can click through. You can do this with any type of activities with your student, any type of sentences with your students to get them going. Okay, all right, Ms. Lane.
Hey, so the next section, we're just going to quickly talk about digital feedback. And I'm like looking at my clock, we're running out of time.
Yes, I know.
But I just wanted to take a few minutes and talk about how important it is for us to still be giving our students feedback. And once you get this PowerPoint, you can kind of look through it a little bit more. But, you know, when you give your students feedback, and not just praise, not just this is good job or, you know, nice work or whatever, but actually giving them feedback on what they've done, it really makes your students feel validated in your classroom. And so as we think about why do we give feedback and what are the best ways to do that, first of all, as you're looking at your assignment or whatever it is that you're trying to grade and get feedback on, make sure you know exactly what it is you are giving feedback about. And that makes it a little bit easier, I think, to grade. So go back to your rubric, go back to your measures of success and see exactly what it is. Also making it personal, but making it frequent so that your students know when they turn something into you, they're going to get some kind of personal feedback. And the last thing here is my favorite, ending your feedback with a question, promote learning. So instead of saying, you should have written this sentence this way and correcting it for them, give them that question, okay, this sentence is incorrect. How might you punctuate it correctly? Okay. So I want to show you a tool. And we're just going to show a little snippet, but this is a Chrome extension called Mote. And some of you may have used it before, but it makes giving digital feedback a little bit easier. And it doesn't want to play. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Will Jackson. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Mote. Today I'm going to talk you through the key functionalities and explain how you might find Mote to be a great addition to your workday. So Mote is a Chrome extension that enables you to add voice commenting to Google Docs, Slides, Sheets, and Google Classroom. Today I'll show you, first off, how it works with a Google Doc. So I'm going to add a comment to this document. Hey, this is a great start. I'm looking forward to seeing where you take it. I leave my comment, and after a moment, I get this screen. I can click on this button to preview what I've just recorded. Hey, this is a great start. I'm looking forward to seeing where you take it. Now, that's a pretty good effort at the transcription, but sometimes we won't get it right. So maybe I'm going to make a little change here.
And I'm just going to pause that and you can watch the full video, but you get the idea here. Basically, by adding this Chrome extension, you are able to say your feedback and it will translate it for you. Now, this video also goes into what it will look like on the student side if they have the Mote extension and if they don't. It's not just that they're not getting your feedback. If they don't have the extension, they'll still get it. So I thought this was a great tool for us to add, especially using so many Google Docs right now.
All right, so we are going to try to speed through other virtual best practices. Go, Lane. All right, so
Sorry, it's not clicking.
It's okay. The small group with the parallel PowerPoint, you see how effective that can be. And you as the teacher can hop in and out of groups. You can also comment directly on the slide so that the students, if they are having trouble getting started, they have access to see what other groups are doing. Okay, next.
The next one that we want to talk about is just a reminder, text annotation using your Google Docs. You know, these are just some sample comment codes that you might want students to use. You can use this with what you are doing as you're grading their work, or you could also use this with peer editing. Just make sure that you establish your goals, and you may want to change your codes based on what your goals are for that lesson. So if you've just focused on, let's say, compound sentences, you may want to change your codes based on what you're doing. A little tip over here, hopefully you guys have all been exposed to this, but if not, you can change the settings on a Google Doc to suggesting, and that way it highlights within the Google Doc what you have changed. So as the students log into their work, they see exactly what was changed, and you can have a conversation with them about why you did what you did.
All right, so very quickly, I know that we are an anchor chart district and we're used to having them up on the walls, but consider moving into digital anchor charts. So designate a spot on your Canvas just for anchor charts so that students can have a way to access it. Link the anchor charts to the corresponding module. So like if I'm doing a lesson on RL 6.2, even though Anchor Charts is its own module and I just kind of house it there for students to kind of go back and look at, it also becomes a great way to embed it into what you're doing, into what you're teaching, the current module that you're currently teaching. Remember that less is more. You don't want it to be jam-packed with information. You just want the basics, and continuously refer to the anchor throughout the lesson so it makes the student or forces the student to make sure that they're using those anchors. Remember to use the link for digital support. Now 6, 8, and 9, 12 currently have a space on their on our Canvas site for digital anchor charts. Okay, and so well, for anchor charts, we are currently trying to convert them over to digital. So I know that 2 are up now. So if you would click that for me, Wayne. So what this looks like is, here's my anchor chart that I would hang up in my classroom. But under each anchor, you see mood. The student can click that link and it explains to them what mood is. So same, we can click example. So if they ever forget, well, what's a synonym clue and how do I find it? It makes it very easy for them to have a quick reference. So the anchor chart becomes what they reference. So go down to 4 for me, slide 4. So same thing, reference materials, old school, new school, different ways of how to use a Google dictionary, how to use the old school dictionary. So if you click up to 3 and 2, you can see it's not a lot of information. It doesn't overwhelm the student, but the idea is to make sure you hyperlink information so that the student who doesn't understand always has that anchor and you don't have to tell them, 20,000 times. Okay. All right. So,
okay.
All right. So it is 4:15. Are you guys okay to give us like 7 more minutes? Yes or no? Tell us in the chat. Yes or no? All right, gotta go.
Yep.
Okay, good.
All right.
Gotta go. Okay, no worries. You'll still get your full credit, but those who are here, we have like 2 more slides to do for you. All right.
If you do have to go, just make sure you're checking your email and respond to the surveys there to get your credit. So the next thing we want to show you is we were going to go through this and kind of have you act it out. But we, obviously in the interest of time, we're not going to. But once you get this, you'll have a link to this little movie viewing guide. And basically we all love to show movies or movie clips in our room to make sure that our students are understanding. So here are just some ideas for roles that you could use if you try to do a movie viewing on your Zoom. So the students would be assigned a role, and what we had done was just break it up by months that you were born. So students would know if I was born in January to March, I'm going to be the annoying girlfriend. So throughout the movie, I'm going to ask a bunch of annoying questions about what's happening. And these questions may be recall questions, or they might be some kind of analysis. But I'm just asking these questions. And so if you go through, you've got several different roles that they can use in the chat while they are watching the movie. So making it a little bit more engaging as you're doing that. Another way you could do this would be just to assign them this document and then go from there and have them put their stuff there as they're moving through the movie. Okay. All right.
So quick slide on this, the oldies but goodies, but you can easily have tutorials. I have tutorials listed so you can explore more on your own if you haven't used them.
So we also added here for you some bonus tools, and two that I really wanted to point out to you was, first of all, Wiser. If you haven't seen Wiser, I would highly recommend you go and join it. These are interactive worksheets, and I can just log in and show you. You only have to pay $3 a month if you want the premium, but without the premium, you are still getting access to 3 of these worksheets. You can make your own, you can find community worksheets. So if I just put in here theme, I'm going to see a whole bunch of different activities that I can assign, make a copy of, and give to my students. So Wiser is really cool. We like it a lot. Then we've got some links to the grammar games, Grammar Bites. 912 does have access to PlayPosit in your Clever, and so your students are already there. So as you're assigning these YouTube videos to your students, use PlayPosit so that they are answering and engaging with the videos as they are watching that. And if you have some questions about that, please direct them to me, and I'll be glad to help you or answer those for you. The last one, if you have not gotten on Actively Learn, please go sign up for your free account. When you get here, there is a lot of content that just sort of gives you an opportunity to give your students whole pieces. So I'm just going to type in Anthem because I know that that's there. And once I do that, this particular novel, I can come in here and I can see the questions. The students would get this side of it. I can come in here and I can add a question. So I can say, you know, what does this have to do with the overall theme, whatever. I don't even have to do that. I can leave it how it is, but there are a lot of options in Actively Learn. So please take some time and go through that, make yourself an account, and go from there.
So at the end of the PowerPoint, we have just quick links to the participant PowerPoint you used today, the digital Frayer models, and the movie viewing role chart, so you can have access to it. Okay. Are there any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself if there are. All righty. All right, that's it. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Sorry for going over 5 minutes, but I appreciate everything you guys do. You're awesome. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Friday is close.
Thank you all so much. And if you need anything, please let us know. We're here to help you.